Where do I even start? Okay, so I have a rare and extreme allergy to tattoo removal. I didn't even know this was possible, but it's really important for me to make this video because most of all, I hope this can help someone out there if anyone else has any of the experiences that I have, because when I was trying to look into this, it was really hard for me to find any people with, you know, the exact shared experience that I had. And then also, just to let you guys know, because I did announce that I was going on this tattoo removal journey, to let you know why I actually won't be able to move forward with that. I'm gonna go into a lot of detail, full explanation, notes on my phone. Let's get into it. Before going into how I figured this out, just a quick backstory. I have got laser for literally years. Multiple pieces, so many sessions with the older Pico Shore laser. And I had no problems. Like, the laser hurt, it healed, sometimes I got a little blistered, and then my life continued as normal. Tattoo removal, you know, aside from the pain of getting it done, was an overall very like easy, simple experience for me. So when I picked it back up now, about, I think it's been like 2.5 or 3 years since I had a session, but the company that I was going to got bought out by a different company that uses a more like a newer, more updated laser, which is the Pico Way laser. I didn't think much of this. I thought the technologies were relatively similar, just more advanced. And the consensus in the industry apparently is that this is like, you know, the luxury laser. It's like the best one, most powerful. Whatever, you know? All that to say, just I had no idea that I would have a different experience now. And I will get more into like the difference with the lasers and all of that stuff. But let me just talk about the symptoms. So I did talk about this in my last video. I'm going to link it here. I went to detail about my first removal session, you know, getting back at, when I say my first removal session, I'm talking about like this time, this era, not talking about my previous experiences with the other laser years ago. I'm only talking about this time. So yeah, I documented my first session and I talked about it, and I was talking about how I had like a crazy immune response. And all of these tattoos were just black, by the way, no color. I was just incredibly itchy head to toe. I got like tiny little hives on my wrists, not anything too extreme, but all of the other tattoos on my body started getting like raised and itchy. So I had like a very intense, very extreme reaction. And please watch my previous video so I don't just rehash everything I've already said. You know, they said that sometimes this happens with the first session, and I've never been, you know, treated with this laser before, so they didn't anticipate that it would continue to happen. So I gave it another shot. I went back, I did a second session, and I also did like a test of a larger piece that had some color in it too. But we decided to only do half just to see, because I had such a very intense reaction the first session. They wanted to see if I would still continue to have an intense reaction or if I would be okay. So after I did that, I just immediately after that session, I was so uncomfortable. I had to sleep with ice packs, literally like keeping a cooler in my bed with ice in it, with ice packs in it to keep rotating, because I could not sleep if I didn't have ice on it, because it was so sensitive, so itchy, and even just like my blanket rubbing up against it, any fabric of my clothes like grazing it would be just the most intense, sensitive, sensory overload, like chills through my whole body situation. Then I started getting the burning palms and itchy feet again, which happened the first session. My hands got so hot, so burning, like it literally felt like hot pins and needles, itchy burning on my palms, just like this tingling burn. And then the same thing happens to the soles of my feet. And again, like all of the tattoos on my body started getting raised and itchy. I once again had to literally sleep with a back scratcher in my bed because it was just so intense that like I just couldn't, I literally couldn't even deal with it. I did start taking antihistamines to help keep the symptoms at bay, and that did help, taking a Claritin or a Benadryl. It doesn't fully make everything go away, but it does help keep everything kind of like more bearable. Now, so all of this is stuff that also happened during the first session. So I was like very disappointed with that. But this is where I started to realize that this was a serious problem, because I started getting more and like different and more intense symptoms that like I personally am not willing to live with. The first one being my scalp. I started getting a super itchy, dry, flaky scalp. I've never had dry, flaky scalp in my life, even though I do have dry skin. Even when I was literally like triple processing, bleaching my hair every single month, I never had flakes on my scalp, never had itchiness, dryness, or anything like that. And when I tell you my scalp was getting so, like I would just like scratch it like this and there would be flakes just flying in front of my eyes, flying all over my dresser, like flakes under my nails. And if you see me scratching, that's because I'm still currently having a reaction right now on my back. So yeah, and you could like literally see the flakes in my hair. I had to take coconut oil and like literally rub coconut oil on my scalp before showering, like the night before, to try and like hydrate my scalp. And to me, that's just, that is not something I'm willing to like deal with. But that's not even the worst of it. So remember how I mentioned during the first session, I started having like little hives on my wrist? Well, after the second session, it literally took like a month for this reaction to start like happening very badly. Or I guess it started happening a few weeks later, but continued to happen for months. Hives. Itchy red hives on my neck and all along my jawline. Even sometimes like my ears getting red and itchy. And just even my face, I was getting like red, just splotches all over my face. That was concerning to me because I've never had hives unless I've like taken a medication that I'm allergic to, or the one time I got stung by a bee, I got like hives around like the bee sting. I'm not someone, like that's not a normal thing to happen to my body. In laser, they call this type of thing like an extreme histamine response, but histamine is an allergy. So that's more than just like an immune response. Like to me, that's my body saying something is wrong and we don't want this. Like this is not good. Now to really put the icing on the cake where I was like actually concerned for my health was, again, this was like a little over a month after my session. I started getting I got a lump in the back of my head and I'm like, what is this lump, right? And it hurt when I touched it. Turns out it was just a lymph node. It's normal for your body to get swollen lymph nodes when it's fighting infection or you know, working hard to do something in your body, right? But I've never had a swollen lymph node there. When I get sick, I'll get swollen lymph nodes like in my throat, sometimes around my period, like swollen lymph nodes in my groin area. And sometimes I've gotten them like in my armpits. I've never had this happen on the back of my head before. And then each day, more and more lymph nodes, like starting at the back of my head, going down my neck, started getting swollen to the point where I had like several swollen, painful lymph nodes and I couldn't even turn my head. That to me was just the biggest indication of I should not be doing this to my body. I've worked so hard to get my immune system to the place where it's at. I had such a horrible, really bad immune system and I've worked so hard to get it to the place that it's at. Like I do not want to put my body through something where it's having to truly struggle and work this hard. Obviously, during every step of the way, I was in touch with the laser place, you know, because this is scary. I'll talk about that more in a minute. But here's the unfortunate part. So because I only did the one half of that big piece I was talking about, it actually did make a slight change in the piece after one session with some of the shading and color. So I had to go back to do the other half because I couldn't live with it the way it was. So, and that's what I'm still like currently recovering from now. I did take the recommendation of the laser place and load up on antihistamines like a couple of days beforehand. Day of, I took this thing called Nettle, which is supposed to be more of kind of like a natural type of antihistamine situation. The day of, I immediately iced it right after. I just did a whole bunch of things to try to make it more bearable for me this time. And even though I did still have to sleep with ice on it the first couple of days, it definitely did go better this time because I took all of those precautions. But now I'm at the phase where I'm starting to get hives and the super raised like rest of my body and stuff. So even though it's slightly more bearable this time, I'm still having pretty much all of the symptoms. And I essentially, I have to listen to my body and recognize that I can't continue doing this. Unfortunately, I had 2 sessions on those tattoos on my legs, so now they look like scratcher tattoos, like they're all like sketchy and blotchy and awful, which really sucks because it took so much for me to work up the courage to make the decision to start removing some of my tattoos. And I did start with the smaller ones because I was smart and wanted to make sure everything would go okay. My intuition was just telling me to do that, to just start small and go from there. But I really like had to work myself up to this journey, you know, especially that I was going to start doing bigger pieces and a lot of pieces on my body. It took a lot of courage, a lot of self-love, and just really like reaching into the depths of my soul to make this decision. And if you're not someone who struggles deeply with tattoo regret, I know it may sound like dramatic and silly, but it was a major decision for me to do that. And then to also like recognize I would have to get tattooed again. And if you don't know my lore, that's fine, but let's just understand that this was a major decision for me and I did not take it lightly. So, you know, doing that and then now dealing with the disappointment that it didn't work out, and dealing with the disappointment that, you know, I'm so beyond fortunate that Removery was willing to do this journey for me. You know, they took on, I had a previous partnership with the older laser place that got bought out, so they continued that partnership because I was promised free tattoo removal for as long as I want or need. And they were so nice and generous to take that on for me. So the fact that I can't take advantage of that just incredible opportunity that I feel so blessed to have is just devastating, because even if I wanted to give it a chance with a place that still used the old laser, the PicoShore laser, that's not a financial responsibility that I'm willing to take on right now or able to take on. Is that a hair or a smudge? Oh, how long has this smudge been on my glasses? So yeah, just in general, this has just been such an emotional roller coaster for me. Like when I look back and read the emails that I was sending the laser place about what I was going through, like I literally cried because I was just saying like, you know, this is taking over my life. Like I can't imagine feeling like this for the next year or however long I have to do laser. Like it's just, I can't live like this. You know, when you're uncomfortable in your own skin, it's scary. And, you know, one of my family members has like full body plaque psoriasis and has had it as long as I've known them. And when we were talking and I was telling them what I was going through, they told me that what triggered their psoriasis was they had an allergic reaction to poison ivy, and their first symptom was like the burning palms. And that really scared me, because seeing what they've suffered through their whole life with their skin, or my whole life with their skin, is devastating. And now I'm scared of triggering anything underlying in my system by putting my body through this, because you never know. That's how shit happens sometimes, you know, like stuff, it's underlying dormant in your body and then something triggers it and now you have an issue that you never had. And I don't want that. I don't need any more problems in my life. Like, I don't, okay? You know, the clinical team said that like I am safe technically to continue doing removal, but they would only be willing to do 2x2 sections. So that would mean I could literally go and get like one of my tiny filler pieces done at a time, and then 4 weeks later go do another tiny piece. Or if I'm doing my big piece, let's say my big piece is this big, I can only do 2 inch by 2 inch sections of that each session. So that would mean it would take me almost a whole year to laser one piece fully one time. Something that I would normally do in one session and then go back 8 weeks later. So that would mean if I actually wanted to like remove even just one piece, that would be probably, if you need 10 sessions, that would be me removing one tattoo for 10 years. Which obviously is not something I would even remotely be willing or able to do. Like, I can't, the thought of that is just the most draining, exhausting, terrifying thought. No, it's a no. Like, it's just not practical, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Let me go into the the specs a little bit to try and explain this a little better, like why this happened now, and kind of explain tattoo removal a little bit if you don't know exactly how it works. When you get tattooed, it goes in, you know, deep enough into your skin to where it's permanent, and the ink particles are big enough to where they're not absorbed into your system, right? They just kind of chill in that layer of your skin. But when you get tattoo removal, the laser zaps the pigment to make it small enough to be absorbed by your body and filtered out. And you filter these things out. They say it's like through your blood, but it's really through like your lymph nodes, your lymphatic system, your adrenals, your liver. Like your whole body is working to filter these things out. Each laser uses different power, and certain lasers target different colors and stuff like that. So this says older lasers use millisecond lasers, which is 1,000th of a second. Microsecond lasers, which is a millionth of a second. And technology that's been used widely for a long time is nanosecond lasers, which is billionths of a second and incredibly short. In spite of that, even with a billionth of a second, there's still some spillover heat. So the next generation beyond nanosecond lasers is an extraordinarily fast laser called picosecond laser, which is a trillionth of a second. So basically just how fast that light be zapping in simpler terms, you know? With such short pulses, there's no time for heat to spill over to the surrounding tissue. This allows the laser technology to concentrate more energy into a shorter period of time and creates a shock wave that shatters the ink instead of spreading it. With this technological advancement, you're selectively targeting the tattoo and minimizing collateral damage around it. So these lasers are supposed to be just far more precise and far more strong. And I actually, you know, in doing research on this, I saw like one study on this essentially, but there aren't enough. There needs to be more. But you can actually also have an allergy to the light from the laser, not just an allergy to the response or the procedure or the ink or any of that stuff. Like you can actually be allergic to the laser. These are things I had no idea. I also want to mention, because anytime I talk about this, people are like, are you allergic to ink? Was it colored ink? Was it red? Blah, blah, blah. This all happened before I lasered any color. I've never been allergic to tattoo ink in my life. I've never had any issues getting tattooed. I've never had any issues healing tattoos, black color, nothing. That were related to this in any way whatsoever. You know, I've had like some rough heals because they're in tough areas and stuff like that. So this is 100% an issue, and a laser related issue. Again, like I've said before, I was always totally fine with the Pico Shore laser, the Pico Way laser. I'm having a reaction to it. And like I said, the words that were used were extreme and rare. So I guess I'm just so special, so lucky. I'm still, you know, I've worked through this. I've kind of gotten to the point of like radical acceptance. I do still struggle just with why, you know, just why. I really feel like I try to take a lesson out of everything in life, but I feel like regarding the tattoo situation, I've already learned my lesson time and time again, so I really don't understand what the universe is trying to do for me right now, other than, you know, maybe just it unfortunately just not being for me, and this is the way of the universe protecting my body and protecting my system and ensuring my health. And at the end of the day, I'm beyond grateful for my health. It's a privilege like that I don't take for granted, and you know, I just try to find the silver lining in all of this, because this has been extremely difficult for me emotionally and physically. You know, it's hard for me to really portray how much of a physical toll this has actually taken on me. And when you're physically in so much discomfort, it does take a large mental toll. So I've really been having a hard time on top of the other like things that I have going on in my life, you know. I have way more important things to be giving my mental and physical energy to than this right now. So I have to accept that it's not going to work out, even if I don't understand why, or if it like seems super unfair. like I said, at the end of the day, I really just hope this helps give someone else. When this started happening to me, the desperation that I felt, you know, to seek answers and to see if other people are having this experience, because I also do get like, you know, anxiety around something like this happening. You know, obviously it gets scary when things start happening to your body, and then you start spiraling, finding out more possibilities, and it's very anxiety inducing. But it's more anxiety inducing when like you can't really find someone else who has a shared issue, and they can't tell you like, hey, this is what I did, and like, you know, this is how I proceeded, or I was told not to proceed, or whatever. So my biggest advice is, if something seems abnormal to you, you need to listen to your body. Even if something, you know, is technically okay, or this can happen, or this does happen to some people, or whatever, you need to, just in general, like not even talking about this, like it is so important to tune into yourself, to tune into your mind, body, and spirit, and understand yourself and listen to your body. Because sometimes, like for me, my heart was saying like, you already started on this journey, like you got to see it through. But my mind and body were telling me like, no, like you need to stop. Like this is not going to work out for you. This isn't healthy. I'm so grateful that I even had this opportunity to begin with. Unfortunately, that's just not my journey. It's not my journey now. And you know, whatever you want to call it, immune response, histamine response, like allergic reaction, it doesn't matter which way you want to wrap it up and put a bow on it or whatever. My body's saying no, no, no. But my heart's telling me yes. And you know what? I'm grown now. I have done so much work and so much inner work that I'm trying not to make bad decisions. So yeah, now I'm stuck with tattoos that look worse than they did before. Not only are they tattoos that I don't want, but now they look bad. So that's fun. I'm gonna have to figure out what I want to do about that. Most of them are just black, so I can't cover them up, and especially if it's like a really big one, can't go and cover that up. So that'll be my next, once I'm fully worked through this and don't have symptoms anymore, maybe I'll decide if I want to do something about that, because I really just don't want to go and get them touched up, because I didn't even want them in the first place. But that's a problem for me later. That's a problem for future me. Look at my notes. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover. I'm also going to be posting about this on TikTok. My comments are on TikTok because the community is way nicer to me. And I love y'all here on YouTube, but the community was just always so evil and cruel to me that I'm still just not ready to turn comments back on mentally. So if you have a question about this, go to my TikTok about it and ask me. Or Instagram. If you comment on any of my pictures, I respond to comments. So you can ask me anything there. But yeah, I feel like there's more to say, but that's my situation. And if there's anything to update y'all on in the future, I will let you know. I feel like I was very like stumbly, mumbly, whatever in this video, but it's a lot for me to handle, and it's a lot for me to talk about. So yeah, that's that. That's the story, folks. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.